In your photography journey, you will undoubtedly have the idea of whether or not you can make this a full time thing, especially if you really enjoy the act of doing photography and really want to take it from a hobby and turn it into something a little bit more. Well, I'm here to tell you that you can. I'm here as living proof of being able to do that one day. And if I can do it, you can do it. But it's not going to be easy to get there. Now, this is one of those topics that really isn't a beginner topic per se, but again, it is something that I want to introduce you to now at the start of your journey so that you can have it in the back of your mind and tailor this kind of thinking towards your development as you continue on in your photography journey. And to that end, it's not going to be super duper in depth, but just enough to introduce you categorically to the many, many ways that you can turn your part-time photography thing into a full-time passion. There's three main paths that people take when it comes to doing this full-time. Now, keep in mind again that this is really not a beginner topic, so don't expect to do any of these things in the first few years of you studying photography, but they are something to build and work towards, and it's always good to have goals. So that's what this is for. Know that your number one priority is to build skills in photography, at least for now, because you need to have a set of skills that you can monetize, a set of skills that you can use to trade for. So spend as much time as you can skill building in the art and craft of photography, and keep an eye on these three paths if they interest you in the long term. Now, the first way is pretty simple. Get hired by a company to do photography for them, to work in-house is what it's called. And this is pretty common in agencies where there will be dedicated photographers for certain client projects. Or you could work in retail and e-commerce and do fashion and product photography in-house for a brand. Or you could be hired as an additional photographer for a wedding photography company. Or you could be a photographer for an events company shooting festivals, etc., etc. Every industry has a need for photographers, and there are so many different possibilities when it comes to that. In the industries, photography is just another job. So, check out the classifieds online or in your local community and apply for a genre of photography and a role that suits you and something that looks like what you would want to do. I'd also add here, though, that having a portfolio is absolutely non-negotiable here. You have to be able to show the company that you can do the work that they are asking you to do. So a great way to be able to put your best foot forward is to identify and target a particular genre and industry of photography, and then do a bunch of shoots in that genre to build up a portfolio, build up a style, and do that for a little bit before starting to apply. Have something that you can show that you can do the job that you're applying for, and you'll set yourself up for success. Now, you may be thinking at this point, how do I build up a photography portfolio when I don't have experience doing the thing I'm applying for? Or, I don't have the studio or the gear or the setup to do the work that's required. Or any of the other plentiful number of resistances and excuses prohibiting yourself from making a move. Well, realize that all of this is just that. It's self-imposed resistance. It doesn't matter what genre of photography you do. You don't need to be hired or need to wait for the perfect conditions to make the portfolio that you're aiming to get a job for. If you want to be hired for a portraiture job, build your portfolio by paying models to shoot with you or ask your friends or family or even strangers. If you want to be hired for a tourism job and you don't have money to travel, then go travel within your country, within your city. There's something beautiful about every corner of the world. You just have to open your eyes to find it. If you want to be hired as an event photographer, then go and attend the events that you want to photograph and make photos for yourself. It doesn't matter if you don't have AAA access, just make do with what you can and try and push yourself creatively and be unique. Whatever genre it is, there's always a way to build a portfolio for it, even if you're new to it. You just have to be a little bit resourceful and think out of the box and be relentless in pursuing it. After a couple of years of doing what you do and getting really good at it, you might want to consider freelancing, which is perhaps one of the most common styles of employment, even though it's really self-employment, in not only photography, but in creative fields in general. Now, going freelance means that you work for yourself. In my eyes, It's a type of business, but perhaps not the traditional kind of idea when you think of what a business is. It does mean that you have a set of skills and that you market yourself with that set of skills and you trade said skills for money. For the most part, going freelance is still what is called a service business, as in you give your time and skills as a service for money and you have to be there doing the job. Some people love this model. You get to build a reputation, you get to interact with other people, you get to do what you love. It's great. But in freelance, much like in business in general, when you're the boss, that also means that you wear all of the hats. You are the accountant, you are the web designer, you are the marketer, you're the IT person, you're the salesperson, and you are the photographer. And this is why it's crucial to have already built up the skills in photography, because once you go freelance, you'll have to spend a significant amount of time learning how to do all those other things as well. But the great thing is that once you learn enough of those other skills, you can transition to a business model, or you can start doing anything else that you want to do outside of photography as well. There are absolutely fantastic life skills that everyone who has started freelance or started a business would definitely agree with me on. The main thing about freelance for photographers is that you are very client based. And depending on your skill set and your genre and how proactive you are about sourcing new clients, there isn't that much stability in this model, and you have to be okay with that. Some clients are going to be your main bread and butter, a few times a year, if most. They're going to give you the most amount of revenue. Other clients are going to be a complete waste of time. Sometimes you might be fortunate to have a retainer, like a regular client. Sometimes you might yourself be on contract. It's ups and downs, and that's just the way it is. Unpredictable. But ultimately, your success is determined by one person only, yourself. I would suggest, though, that if you're striving for this category, or at the point where you would have been in it for a little while, that you think about the idea of how you can expand your revenue opportunities by leveraging an idea called the octopus model. Now, it's kind of what it sounds like, right? Rather than getting your income from one client or one source in general, have many sources and many clients and diversify your income generation so that in case one income source goes down, you have many levels of redundancy to back you up as security. And not only that, the more streams of revenue you have, the more potential you have to make money as well. And this is a model that works for the business side of things as well. And it's a model that I've personally used for decades now, owning and running multiple businesses myself. Having a proper business means you are incorporated and there are more people than just yourself helping the business succeed. If you are the sole director and employee of this business, you could technically call yourself self-employed, but honestly, the semantics don't really matter. All that matters is that a business is a kind of overarching structure above all else that you do, but the activities that you engage in to make money can be the same or similar to what you might do in the freelance model, but perhaps more diverse. As a business, you'll also have to deal with tax structures and employees and everything else that comes with having an entity that is separate from you, the director. At a day-to-day operational level, though, someone, whether it's you or an employee, still may be going out there to do service-based work. Think about how a wedding photography company works. There's the company, and then there are the many photographers or videographers within that company that are employees working within it. Or if you're into a more product-based approach, then someone, whether it is an employee you hire or an outsourced helping hand, is going to be doing the work of creating the product, marketing, sales, and all that kind of stuff. Some very common photography-based businesses include wedding photography, product photography, fashion photography, real estate photography, and tourism. You see, agencies all the time have photography front and center of their approach, and now in the modern day, content houses or media companies are very, very common, and photography is also front and center of the service offerings for those businesses, amongst other things as well. There are so many different ways that you can end up monetizing your craft, but ultimately, whatever structure you end up having, whether you are doing it as a service or whether you are making a product, Either way, you are trading time and money for that. And whatever you end up deciding to do is, again, totally up to you. But whatever it is, you do need a monetizable set of skills first in order to have fun with it. All right, today's assignment is a research one. Now, in your time researching photographers that you look up to or styles that you really enjoy, you for sure have come across a photographer who is doing what they love for a living, full time. And today's task is to find out how they do that. How do they make a living doing what they do full time? Search the internet, look up interviews, articles, blog posts, captions, comments. Look at their website, their YouTube, their podcast, whatever media they've got or appeared or shown up on. Just ask them directly if you can't find anything as well. Whatever it is, find their story. Find the story of how they got to be where they are today, how long it took them to get there, what skills they had to build along the way, what challenges they faced, what successes propelled them to where they are, all that kind of stuff. Everyone's journey is so different, and the more you hear from people sharing their stories of how they went from doing what they were doing to doing what they love, the more you can feel like you can start to do that for yourself as well. There's a lot of stories out there, so go find them. All right, I'll see you tomorrow.